Yo, this is Art the Architect with More Than a Haircut podcast. Tune in every Friday for new content. Definitely on Anchor as well as YouTube and on IG. Hit your boy up. It's More Than a Haircut. I got something else for you.
What's that?
Is it Adidas or is it Adidas? Right? That's the first part.
Oh,
Hold on. That's the
yeah,
first part.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what does the brand mean to you? And can you share some history about the brand?
The brand for me, that brand is probably as meaningful to me as Nike is to most people.
Mm.
And I've been in the game for so long. I actually remember when Nike first came along because of the big brands, Nike is pretty much, aside from Under Armour, Nike is the youngest one of the big brands. Nike was established in 1972, and it was actually called Blue Ribbon Sports. That was the original name of the company.
Blue Ribbon
And
Sports. Wow.
yeah, that was the original name. Blue
Mhm.
Ribbon Sports became Nike.
Wow.
And Adidas is named after a guy who his full name was Adolf Dassler. And don't get afraid of the name Adolf because
Oh no, no,
prior
no.
to, that was a common name in that part of the world back in that time. So the nickname for Adolf was Adi. So that's where Adi came from. And
Wow.
his last name was Dassler, Dassler. So Adi Das is what it is. So pretty much mostly only Americans say Adidas, which is acceptable because in America that's what it's called. But
Yeah.
the rest of the world and the real pronunciation of the brand is Adidas. And he was a phenomenal shoemaker. That was a sports shoemaker. And he was very fortunate, if you look back in retrospect, that he actually made the cleats that Jesse Owens was wearing when he actually had to compete in the 1936 Olympics with Hitler sitting right
Good too.
right there looking at him. So, when people talk about pressure and clutch and all of this stuff, I can't think of a sports situation that's more clutch
And
than
that.
Jesse Owens. And a lot of people don't know that, Hitler and them, they were so technically advanced in that era. That was the first Olympics that was televised because they were pioneering thinking about broadcasting sports on TV. And
Dean.
the other thing that he did is because he was already showing up to be this horrible monster that he was, a lot of the top athletes in Germany had actually moved away from Germany because they wanted to get away from what he was about. But
Wow.
what he did for those Olympics, he went and found the families of those people and told those athletes, if you don't come back to Germany and represent Germany, I'm going to kill your family.
Mm.
So now Jesse Owens was caught up in the whole midst of that because he had to deal with the fact that he was a black dude from America and all the racist stuff that he's dealing with.
Yeah.
But when he showed up over there,
That
one
shit.
of the Germans was looking at how inferior the shoes were that the Americans had because Adolf Dassler and them, they ain't no joke. They
Yeah.
went to him and said, we don't want you to have an excuse when you lose. So you should wear these. So we don't want you, because that's how much they was thinking they was going to kick his butt. Because the word about black athletes is that we ain't good and we scrubs and all of this kind of dumb stuff.
Whatever.
And then and then when they realized he was that good, they changed the timing of his events so that he didn't have enough time to actually recoup. But that meant nothing at all because he just beat
Yo.
everybody's. He beat everybody's ass. He didn't just win; he was beating asses. So when I think about that, that's who I think of when it comes to clutch. Then on top of that, there's a person that you and I we share this person a lot in terms of who we know, but
Yeah.
most people don't know because Adidas wasn't really focused on marketing because they're a German company and they don't even know how to really market at that time, particularly. They wasn't really thinking about it. The sneaker industry wasn't something like what it is right now. But
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali beat everybody up in Adidas. And he's the GOAT because he's the one that made up the term. I'm the greatest of all time. He's the one that said that.
You
So
got it.
I find that really humorous because we use that GOAT term for other sports. We don't even use it in boxing at
And they
all.
they use it in rap now.
But and they use it in everything now.
I know. I'm like,
Somebody,
man,
whatever it is
look,
now, people like, yo,
you ain't even a kid yet. How you the goat? Well,
yeah, exactly. Well, it's all kind of, I'm the goat of frying chicken. People be saying all kinds of goat terms now, right? So, so between that and then thirdly, there's a guy in the NBA. He's retired for a lot of years now. We all know who he is. It's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he's still
oh
sitting
yeah,
there with
the
38,000 points.
hook.
And they shoot 30 or 40 threes a game in the NBA today. And it looks like obviously his record is eventually going to be broken, but he came into the NBA about 10 years before the 3-point shot was in the NBA. And then the other 10 years he was in the league because he played for 20. The centers wasn't even thought of shooting threes, so he never shot any threes. So he was so efficient and so great because he wasn't shooting a lot of shots. He just never used to miss. So he shot 55% from the floor his whole career, and he ended up with 38,000 points. And he's still sitting there. I mean, it's going to get broken because it looks like, LeBron is amazing, and it looks like LeBron is going to break this record. But still, look what it took. Look what it takes. And LeBron is getting close to 20 years his own self.
For real. He still, it's like, man, to see him, it's amazing.
Yeah.
See his body recovery just every year.
Oh, he's the guy. He's that's why we have a term in my company that we use. We do use the word GOAT, but it's spelled differently, and we spell it GOHT, greatest of his or her time.
Yeah.
Because it's unfair to the people from the past, and it's unfair of the people today to try to say somebody because rules change so much.
Yeah,
I mean, and I'll use golf as an example. If you go all the way back to the day, way back when Bobby Jones and them was out playing golf, they had like wooden, they were made out of wood.
Yeah.
So look at the materials and the technology they got today.
Okay.
And the same with all of the sports. It's so different now because I remember when I was a youngin', occasionally I would get on the plane to fly somewhere, and the NBA team used to be on the plane because they didn't have their own planes back in the day.
You know where I heard that? I just heard that on an interview with Mark Cuban when he was saying,
yeah.
Some of the players was just like, man, Mark, we in Oakland at 3 a.m. looking for food. Like, what they look like? We on the plane, we can't. So they, I think they were staying at like Holiday Inn or something. So that was,
it was different, and and we know so much. I remember when I was a kid growing up, some fried chicken, some macaroni and cheese, some collard greens, and some cornbread. That was the pre-game grub.
Man, that sounds good.
It do sound good, and it tastes good. But you can only imagine that's not what people eat today when they're actually trying to be. That's one of the reasons why LeBron has been able to stay around for so long. And another reason why I give Kareem so much credit, because he played for 20 years back in those days. So he knew things about diet and training and flexibility and martial arts. And, because that was one of Bruce Lee's top students was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So, I mean, so it's just different. So I actually look at the different time frames and respect them for what they were. And I look at the best of each era, and I try to make sure I bring those things with me because I don't want to change with the times. I want to change the times. Big difference.
Say that one more time. I like that.
I don't want to change with the times. I want to change the times.
Okay. I like that.
You don't want to wait till somebody tell you got to change.
That's got to be a slogan. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get in front of that. I look at old school groups like the Isley Brothers, man. They most people don't know their first big hit was that song "You Make Me Want to Shout." That was the Isley Brothers, and that song came out in like 1958. And look at all of the transitions that they made over the years, and they're one of the very few groups that they actually joined Motown, had hits for Motown, left Motown, started their own label, and went to the next level. So I look at people like that. I look at Quincy Jones. I'm like, Quincy Jones, he's older because he's a man. Yeah. Did he ever get old in music? He never got old.
No,
he used to be the orchestra conductor for Frank Sinatra, bro, and he did Thriller too. Come on, man.
I'm saying, like, you changing the times, man.
Yeah, there you go. And you never want to put yourself in a situation where you're stuck in this discipline or this box of where they tell you that you're supposed to be. I have the basketball conversations a lot because that's what we're about and that's what we love. But I make running shoes, I make cleats, whatever. It ain't just that. But the basketball conversation is the sexy conversation because the other sports don't have the sexiness that basketball has.
Yeah, I'm glad.